NBA free agency, we are in the middle of it. Russell Westbrook, a Laker. Chris Paul still in Phoenix. And the peripatetic Kawhi Leonard, he will be staying with, not leaving the Clippers. But there's still plenty of unresolved free agency matters and other transactional matters that we will now discuss with our own Adrian Wojnarowski. Adrian, good morning. These are the times that try your soul, I know, and your cell phone. What's the latest from the land of the NBA?
Well, Jeremy, a lot of the significant free agents in this summer are off the board and have, either stayed with their team. A few have moved. I think the last significant story of free agency, remains the Ben Simmons trade talks in Philadelphia. If the Sixers are able to find a new home for him, and they've tried to do that, their asking price remains steep. And they've not yet found a deal for him. And so the possibility remains that Ben Simmons has to go back to the Sixers this year. He still has 4 years left on his contract, so they don't have urgency to move him because he might leave in free agency. He's a long way from that. But there's a relationship with Ben Simmons that would certainly have to be repaired, I think, on both sides. But Philly still has time. They're still talking to teams. And I think that could linger well into the offseason.
Let's talk about a team on the other side of the country, the LA Lakers. They've added Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, and as we mentioned, Russell Westbrook. What does this over-the-hill gang plan look like to you?
Well, the plan is to try to win another title, while LeBron James, is still playing at the high level he is. He'll be 37 years old when the Lakers start the playoffs next season. And so you always have that urgency with LeBron James on your roster to try to find a way to win a championship and win as many as you can during his stay there. They have brought in some older players, there's no question. But last week in free agency, Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn from Miami, those are two younger players with some more upside. And I think that the Lakers certainly, had to rebuild their bench, and players like, Carmelo Anthony, who's become a very good catch and shoot player here in his later years, playing a role off the bench, I think can have success for the Lakers.
It used to be a young man's game, not so much right now, at least as far as the Lakers are concerned. What about the Bulls and what they've been doing?
Well, you see a Bulls organization, that's really determined to get back into the playoffs. They're sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan, adding him to Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, who they brought in a trade deadline deal. And, of course, Lonzo Ball is their new point guard. So Billy Donovan, I think, trying to get these pieces to fit together. There's certainly more talent with the Bulls. And Alex Caruso, who comes in from the Lakers, I think is going to play a significant role for the Chicago team. But the expectation there is that they've got to be back in the playoffs.
Adrian Wojnarowski from his free agency bunker joining us this morning. It's always
Stephen Curry agreed to an NBA record $215 million extension Tuesday. That, according to Adrian Wojnarowski via Curry's agent. Curry and A-Rod are the only athletes to get multiple $200 million deals in American sports. Kind of a big deal. The Nets shored up their backcourt on Tuesday. Patty Mills' agent telling Woj that the veteran point guard is signing a 2-year deal with Brooklyn. The Aussie is a career 39% shooter from three-point range. DeMar DeRozan also left the Spurs Tuesday in a sign and trade with the Chicago Bulls. DeRozan will sign a 3-year, $85 million deal on Friday when the NBA's free agent moratorium is lifted. That, according to Woj. Andre Drummond agreeing to a veteran's minimum deal with the 76ers on Tuesday, according to Woj. With Dwight Howard going to L.A., the Lakers and Sixers essentially swap backup centers over the last 48 hours. The Lakers were very busy Tuesday. Carmelo Anthony will be joining the Lakers. Melo's manager telling Woj, who also reported Tuesday that guards Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn are headed to L.A. Clutch Sports also told Woj that Talen Horton-Tucker agreed to an extension with the Lakers. And then there's this. Sam Decker's agents telling Woj that Decker was returning to the NBA, agreeing to a deal with the Toronto Raptors. Woj even beat Decker's wife, Olivia Harlan Decker, to the scoop. Harlan Decker tweeting, "I can't even beat Woj with our own news." Hashtag shaking my head. We welcome in our NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, what'd you think about that?
I think I beat Sam and Olivia on a trade once, but at least this one, they knew they were going to Toronto. I wasn't breaking the news to them at least.
That's awesome. Way to take the high road there. All right, Woj, let's get down to business, and that's what you've been doing. Very, very busy. The Lakers have been busy, adding several players to their roster on Tuesday, but most notably, Carmelo Anthony. Melo finally teams up with LeBron James. Why was now the time that Anthony chose to join forces with LeBron?
Well, Linda, certainly need, and I think the role Carmelo Anthony can play at this stage of his career at 37 years old. They certainly had a need in L.A. at that four-man position, but Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James have been talking about playing together in the NBA. I mean, back to when they were campers at the old ABCD camp. And, Carmelo Anthony has talked about having some regret earlier in his career. Remember, he could have been part of the big three in Miami, decided not to do that. His contract didn't quite line up. And they talked about it again in the last couple years about LA. But finally now, after two really good seasons in Portland, Carmelo and LeBron James together in the NBA. We saw them on the court together, certainly with Team USA, but this will be different, trying to win a title in LA.
One of the biggest splashes of the day came from the Bulls. They agreed to a sign and trade with DeMar DeRozan. Chicago has been very busy. What else did they have in mind during this early free agency period?
Well, they've remade now, this lineup and really their roster since Arturas Karnisovas, their president, Mark Eversley, their GM, took over. And you saw Lonzo Ball come in at the point guard position. And now DeMar DeRozan, who you put on the floor, certainly a dynamic offensive talent to pair with Zach LaVine. And now the Bulls have a team, with Billy Donovan after his first year as coach there. I think the expectation is going to be, to get in the playoffs. They made a big move at the trade deadline, bringing in Nikola Vucevic from Orlando. They've sacrificed their future with some first-round picks and a couple of these deals, including the sign and trade for DeRozan now. So this is a group that they're going to have to win with, and this is a team that I think, Billy Donovan will expect, can get into the Eastern Conference playoffs next season.
And something tells me, Woj, don't plan your vacation just yet. What kind of moves can we expect as this week continues?
There's still some point guards out there who could be impactful. Spencer Dinwiddie's trying to find a way to get to the Washington Wizards. And the Ben Simmons trade talks, they continue. And Philadelphia continues to canvass the league. They've got a steep asking price. But the Sixers want to get a Ben Simmons deal done. There's teams with interest. And so
Bulls also spent big on Lonzo Ball. No more excuses for a team that has missed the playoffs 4 straight years. And that's not all. If you buy now, Patty Mills also left San Antonio. He'll sign a 2-year deal with the Nets. The Aussie guard, a career 39% shooter from 3, should boost the big threes supporting cast. Now they got to stay healthy. Adrian Wojnarowski now joins us. He does not have an off season, as you might be aware. Woj, the Lakers roster makeover has been swift. Newcomers nearly everywhere you look, surrounding LeBron and AD. So not just how did LA make this happen, how did they do it so quickly?
Well, free agency moves fast, Steve, and as players